Well, welcome to Black History Conversations in Black History Month 2024. And this session is being hosted by the North Wales Jamaica Society. My Welsh isn't too good, so I'm not too good at reading the name in Welsh. But it's Black History Month. We're all so busy, but it's really wonderful today that we've got with us Dr. Barrington Richardson, who is the Chief Education Officer in Clarendon, Jamaica. So it's just going to be fascinating. Right, okay then. So we're just doing some little adjustments here. Okay, Director of Education, I think is the proper title. I'm going to sort that out in a moment. So I'm Liz Millman, I'm Secretary of the North Wales Jamaica Society, but I'm also a Director of Learning Links International. Now, Learning Links International is an organisation that has applied to the Welsh Government for some funding. So we're going to tell you about the windfall that we've had, and we're going to explain just how Barrington Richardson managed to be here. So here we are. This is our introductory slide for today. So amazingly, 2 weeks ago, we had our 150th Black History Conversations, and we're in season 13 now. So we're welcoming Barrington Richardson, and we might have to change the slide a little bit because he's Regional Director of the Ministry of Education. Okay, then that's lovely. Now on the slide here, you can see this wonderful word, croeso, which is in big letters outside the school that we went to on Monday. And croeso means welcome. So it seemed like a really lovely picture to be able to show you here. So I do apologise. I've got Barrington down as the Chief Education Officer, but he's the Regional Director of the Ministry of Education. I do apologise, Barrington. We will correct this on the slide that goes out. Okay, and the other illustration here was photograph was taken on Wednesday evening when we were honoured to be joined by and I'll explain who we is in a minute, we're honoured to be joined by the Lord Lieutenant and the High Sheriff of Gwynedd. And the rest of the folks in that picture are delegates who are either going to Jamaica shortly or will be going to Jamaica next year, perhaps with Welsh Government funding. And we're sponsored by Taith. Taith means journey in Welsh. And yeah, so we're going on a journey. But the journey started by an incoming visit of Barrington Richardson, Regional Director of the Ministry of Education. So we always start Black History Conversations with an acknowledgement. Because of the injustices of the actions taken by the British and other European countries invading and taking possession of the islands in the Caribbean Sea, as well as the continents of North and South America. We also recognise the exploitation of the great continents of Africa, Asia and Australia and the many other parts of the world in the centuries of colonialisation and ongoing exploitation. We acknowledge that this has resulted in the destruction and destabilisation of so many nations, peoples and cultures. We also recognise that we're drawing to a close of the International Decade for People of African Descent. So people have been keeping a track on what's been going on with this over the last 10 years, and we're going to do a bit of a wrap up about that as well. So we've just got another person to welcome into the group here, so that's wonderful. Okay then, so on we go. Right, just get on. Last week we were delighted to welcome Dr. Beverly Prevet-Goldstein. Now she was really inspirational in her presentation, and if you go on to Black History Conversations probably tomorrow, you'll find the recording of Beverly's session. She talked about African lives and the walk around Newcastle, and we're very grateful to Leslie for doing that session with us. The week before that we had another fantastic session. We had 2 weeks before that we had Trey Ventor Griffiths, and he spoke about Northampton and the history that he's researching there. So that was fascinating. And you're going to understand in a minute why I'm including all of these, because we've got a theme going of what's happening about Black history research in different areas around the UK. But for our 150th session, we were joined by Catherine Hall. She's written a book called Lucky Valley, the story of Edward Long and the history of racial capitalism. So it's a readable book. She was a wonderful presenter. And again, that's on our website. So we've had some pretty special sessions since we got started with season 13, as you can see. We started off with a special session on Learning Links International's Taith project, which is called Building Bridges of Friendship. And Leslie joined us in September to explain about the fascinating work that she's doing, researching in the Penryn papers, the archive of a particular family who had plantations in Jamaica. And that's what we're going to be talking more about. So there you can see the other things that we're doing. And next week, we're looking forward to welcoming Joan Grant. And she will be talking to us about Black people in London, W10, W11. So we've got a 100-year period to hear about. And then not only does the British hour change, so we start at a different time, but we always start at the same time in Jamaica. But we're going to have several sessions, 3 in fact, when we're in Jamaica. So Garrick Prayog and I will be leading on the first session, telling you about what we're doing in Jamaica and who we're meeting, and perhaps we'll have some guests join us, special guests. And then the second week, I think June Elizabeth may have joined us, I'm not sure. I think our delegation will be up in Ocherius by then, so we'll see what's happening on that Friday afternoon. And then we've got another session the following week when there's some more work going on in Jamaica from the Taith delegation, and we're hoping to be joined by Dr. Kurt Henry. Then we're considering whether we can do a special focus on the 22nd of November, and that might be with the Jamaica, the Nurses Association of Jamaica, and also with Candice, who's with us today, who's written a super book celebrating the wonderful things that Jamaica nurses and other nurses from the Caribbean they were able to achieve. So it's really good. So as you can see, we've got lots of interesting things coming up. All right, now we're going to get on with what we're actually looking at today. So we've got Barrington Richardson with us, and he's the Regional Director of the Ministry of Education, and he's here in Wales as part of the Taith project, Building Bridges of Friendship. We're exploring the shared history of Wales and Jamaica. So we've got the North Wales Jamaica Society logo there at the bottom. We've got Bangor City Council. They're linking up with the Clarendon Parish Council. You can see their logo further to the right of the screen. Taith has this interesting little dragon tail as its logo. Then we've got Learning Links International. That's the organisation that Garrick Prayog and I are directors of, along with 5 other people and our wonderful advisors, including June Elizabeth. And then we've also got our links with Rotary International. So this project is funded by the Welsh Government, and the aim of the project is to get the name of Wales better known around the world, and to remind people it's not spelt with an H. All right, so we're Welsh Government funded. And this is the particular slide that tells a bit more of this story about building the bridges of friendship. The bridges of friendship are between different organisations, different entities from Wales. You can see our red dragon there, and also from Jamaica, and you can see the wonderful Jamaican flag there with its colours. So we're exploring the shared history between the county of Gwynedd and also the parish of Clarendon. So we've got Bangor as the main focal place in Gwynedd, Wales, and the Maypen in Clarendon. So we're really, really excited about that. And this is our project, Building Bridges of Friendship, Exploring Our Shared History. So what is this shared history? Well, this picture tells it all. This is where it started. Here in North Wales, we have a huge National Trust property, it's National Trust property now, called Penrhyn Castle. And this National Trust property was built with the wealth that was generated on the Pennant family's plantations that were mainly in Clarendon, Jamaica. So we have made links with our colleagues in Jamaica, and I think we're joined by Dr. Vivian Crawford at the moment. He's been part of our, well, he's chair of our Pennant's Heritage Research Group. So we've done some very interesting research so far, and what our Taith project is about is helping people who are studying, researching, working with Learning Links International on an adult learning course, which gives opportunities for people to find out more about the shared history of Jamaica and Wales. So it's really quite exciting that we've got this this opportunity. So this is what we're about. Right, okay, so I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the story, and then we'll have Barrington join in with us. So there are many things in common between Maypen and Bangor. They've both got a clock tower for a start. The one with the blue sky is in Maypen. The one with the clouds in the background is in Bangor. But also, look at that picture at the top. Northern Clarendon, as painted in 1870, and that's Pennants. What a beautiful scene that looks, so quiet and peaceful. And it's used as one of the illustrations by the National Trust at Penrhyn Castle to indicate that there are links with Jamaica. But it doesn't really tell a very accurate story because it's painted so many years after the years when there were enslaved workers on the plantations. So, but isn't it interesting that Gwynedd has also got hills and mountains and rivers. So I'm just going to ask our visitor if I can help in any way, because we're just waiting to get started. Okay, then. So got things in common. All right, then. For those of you who don't know where Clarendon is, then here it is. Central south of the island, and Maypen, the capital of Clarendon, is there. We compared, this presentation was prepared for the council, and we wanted to explain to them that this county of Gwynedd and the parish of Clarendon are really pretty similar. So there's far more people in Clarendon than there are in Gwynedd, but bear in mind Gwynedd has such a mountainous area, which is really, sparse population. So, and Maypen also has a much bigger population than Bangor, but Bangor is a city. We have a cathedral here, and Barrington Richardson's been visiting schools around and about in the area of Gwynedd. So Jamaica and Wales are a similar size. If you tip Wales on its side, it'd be about the same length as Jamaica is from east to west. But sometimes map illustrations can indicate that Wales is much bigger, but it isn't actually. Jamaica's bigger. Back in 2018, I was able to visit Jamaica and spent time in Clarendon. And when I spoke to Councillor Winston Mirage, the then mayor, if there was anything we could do to help, he said, yes, we'd like another fire engine. And Rohan Blake here that could chief executive. We're looking forward to meeting up with him when we go over to Jamaica again. It'll have been, what, a while since we were there before. So here we are, building bridges of friendship. We've got the North Wales Fire Service, Fire and Rescue Service, supporting us. They're going to get a decommissioned fire engine from Fire Aid via the Emergency Services Charity. So that'll be fantastic. So here we've got some of the North Wales Jamaica Society crowd. And here we've got a Nancy the Spider who was seen around Bangor doing high fives with the children. All right, okay, then I'm not going to go through the detail of this anymore, but there's lots on our website that you can find out more about this if you want to. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to introduce formally our visitor, Barrington Richardson, who's the Regional Director of the Ministry of Education, and he's based in Clarendon. Now, this week has been a bit of a roller coaster of a week. The weather has been wonderful, cold, wet, windy. I don't know what's going to hit us next. There's a big storm coming apparently. But anyway, Barrington's here with me, so I'm going to cross across like this. And we're in the school. We're actually in Llanllechid, Ysgol Llanllechid, which is Llanllechid Primary School, and you've been around the classes this afternoon and
Oh, yes.
had an opportunity to talk to the principal. So it's been really fantastic. But I'm not sure if you want to go through your week or how you want to do it. But anyway, over to you, Barrington Richardson.
Hi, thank you, Liz. Thank you so much for this opportunity to just share my own reflection over the last couple of days. Let me say hello to everyone. It has been a wonderful experience so far. I've noted how similar Wales is to Jamaica, based on the mountains and just the lush vegetation and so on. And the food is quite similar, but it has been one of emotion and one of reflection. It has been that kind of journey so far. And so the reflection that I will be sharing really will focus on the historical ties between the two nations, Jamaica and that of Wales, and the lessons that I have learned so far having been here. One of the most impactful experiences during my visit so far is the tour of the Penguin Castle. The castle's luxurious outlay, the architectural work, the valuable furnishings, and the exquisite artwork is really a painful capture of the truth that the wealth used to build and furnish this estate came from the brutal exploitation of enslaved Africans on Jamaican plantations. And so as I walked through the halls of this estate, I couldn't help but think of the sweat, the blood, and the lives of my ancestors, whose forced labor funded this symbol of exploitation. And so this fact brought a wave of emotions. Sometimes it was sadness, sometimes it was anger, and a deep sense of injustice. But as I processed these feelings, I understood that my response needed to go beyond what I saw and also beyond the pain that I felt. In addition to touring the castle, I had the opportunity to visit Bangor University, where I was able to, along with Leslie, to visit the archives, where I was able to view documents that confirmed the connection between the Penguin Castle, the wealth garnered by those persons, and the plantations in Jamaica. These records documented the transactions, reinforcing the historical truth that my people were exploited to enrich others far across the seas. Yet, despite the injustice, I found myself reflecting on the resilience of my ancestors who endured the unimaginable and still left a legacy of strength. And so that has been one of the messages I shared as I visited the schools, as I reflected on the colors of our flag, black, green, and gold, and just to highlight how the black in the flag symbolizes for us as Jamaican the hardship of our past, but more so our strength and our resilience. And so while it would be easy to let anger or bitterness take hold of my heart, I chose a different path, a response of love and not hate. My visit to Wales has strengthened my commitment to educate my own people and the next generation about this history. Just by embracing the painful parts of our past, but we can use this knowledge to empower ourselves, to appreciate our roots, and to celebrate Jamaican identity, which is really about our strength, our resilience, and our survival. So I believe it is my responsibility, having visited Wales, to explore the shared history, to use this as a platform for me to talk about my own experience, to connect Wales and Jamaica in a meaningful way, and to be a voice for empowerment. Our history, while painful, can definitely serve as a foundation for growth, unity, and understanding. And so despite the tragic history that connects our two nations, there is much that is similar between Jamaica and Wales. I noted how similar the education system is and how we are socialized generally. Our shared values of community, respect for education, and the importance of culture are empowering and reassuring. And so what is different between us is not a source of division, but an opportunity for enrichment and learning. And so under the bridge, creating bridges of friendship, I am committed to creating a bridge of friendship between Jamaica and Wales, a platform for the advancement of unity of our people. And so this bridge will foster collaboration in areas such as education, culture, and social development, with the aim of lifting each other up and not pulling each other down. There is immense potential for partnership between Jamaica and Wales, not just economically or educationally, but also emotionally and socially. It is very clear as I did the tour, the visits to the different communities, different schools, it was very clear that there are persons still in Bangor, in Wales, that are still under the cloud of their own past. Some have not moved, and I believe the same is true for Jamaica. And so this is indeed a good bridge to help each other to get past our past and to use it to empower ourselves for the future. And so this experience has transformed me. My heart is open to my people, to those who are suffering, and to those who seek understanding. I am committed to being a catalyst for change, to foster unity, understanding, growth across cultures, races, and nations. Let me say thank you to the North Wales Jamaican Society for making this life-changing global encounter possible. This experience has deepened my sense of purpose as an educator and also as a Jamaican, to further strengthen my resolve to empower my people and build bridges between nations such as Wales and Jamaica. Together, we can forge a path of love, one of unity, and one of progress. One love.
Well, thank you very much indeed. You know, you should really do a sort of round of applause at this moment, but it's often difficult. Now, Dr. Vivian Crawford, get your screen down. Okay, that's lovely. We can see you now. So wasn't that fantastic? Barrington, thank you very much indeed.
Yeah.
You focused on our project, whereas I know that the other thread that's been going through this week has been Barrington talking about curriculum development and schemes of work and all the educational things, governance and all the other things. So it's just been amazing, but that you've identified the essence of the issue.
Yes.
And the essence of the issue is, I think, that we're still under a cloud here in this part of North Wales, and our cloud is the injustice suffered by Welsh people's ancestors, the slate quarrymen who were treated badly by the Pennant family. So it's really interesting to have your reflections there. So let's have some others join in at this point. Wonderful. Okay, Garrick, over to you.
Yes, thank you very much for your reflection, Barrington. I know prior to you coming into North Wales, you had some particular areas that you would like to focus on, in particular about how we support, learners with challenges. And in particular, your visit to the schools, that's been the conversation as to, how we actually support the learning of those individuals that have many challenges. Can you just say something about the schools that you've visited and the what you've observed in terms of the program of support that is in place, and whether or not there's anything that is similar to Jamaica or something that you might be able to take back, to sort of look at that area where improvement can arise.
Thank you, Garrick, for that pointed question. I was able to visit approximately 7 schools so far, 2 being high schools. It has been a wonderful experience engaging the head teachers, as it is called here, which is the same as principals back home in Jamaica, and to interact with the students themselves and a few of the teachers. Yes, you are correct. There are many things that are similar. How the students are grouped according to age, it is the very same in Jamaica, with the exception that they would have started the children 1 year earlier, which for me is an advantage because early stimulation has proven to be a good contributor to academic performance and also social development. In Wales, they would have implemented their curriculum recently in 2022. And the major difference, because they wanted it to be far more student-centered and to give more autonomy to the teachers to develop localized content for the students. Similarly, in Jamaica, we would have recently implemented our revised standard curriculum, which is really, again, about putting the students in the center and allowing the teachers to be the coaches on the side. So that in itself is very similar, and we are actually on the same path in terms of how we organize learners. I shared with the head teachers that we have 3 pathways in Jamaica. Pathway 1, meaning students who are functional and can access the curriculum without any additional support. The pathway 2 are those students who, with a little bit more support, they are the ones on the cusp, and with a little bit more scaffolding and support, they can become pathway 1. And the pathway 3 are those struggling learners who need clinical intervention. When I shared that with all the school leaders, they did identify with that, even though they have it under different names. So again, I see the commonality that we are all catering to all learners wherever they are on the spectrum of learning. What I do appreciate is the common integration of technology, the provision to all the schools in terms of ICT support to facilitate the development of the students using the different modalities is something I see as a common theme across the 7 schools. Though we in Jamaica, we're on the path, we are not fully there yet. Some schools are more advanced to date, but I see how important the thinking is that the integration of technology in teaching and learning is a good tool to help to connect with our 21st century learners and to see if we can use that as a springboard to propel them to achieve their potential. So the matter of special education using the inclusive approach is also common, Garrick. And I was very happy to know that the terminology that we use in Jamaica, the Cinco, is actually here in Wales, meaning the specialists that are so trained to support students with special needs is also a fixture here in Wales in terms of the education system. One difference, though, is the provision of what I call special places or rooms within the facilities. Every school I went to, they were able to point to me dedicated spaces and rooms that are utilized by the Sinkers for pullouts. We do have the pullout arrangement because we have our apps coordinators, our literacy and numeracy specialists, but we might have been void of those dedicated spaces that students can go to be facilitated. And so how our schools are built, we would require further reorganization or expansion so we can deliberately and intentionally have those dedicated spaces for our students that need that kind of support to be pulled out. So in summary, there are more similarities than there are differences. And I look forward to the continuous collaboration through the bridges of friendship for the schools in Jamaica to be paired with these schools. We are trying to keep the 7 schools as a closed group as we identify schools in Jamaica that are similar or could benefit mutually from this relationship. So we would end up having 14 schools in a circle where we can begin to explore matters related to leadership, matters related to tracking of our students. I went to Denby High, and that was fascinating. As I stepped into Denby High in the reception area, it was set up just like Denby back home in Jamaica. The very chairs were similar. The very layout was similar. I had to take a picture to send back to the principal in Jamaica. But what I liked about Denby High, and it's a similar thing happening at Denby back home in Jamaica, they have a beautiful tracking system where they are able to track every single student though the system was outsourced under their local agreements, but they were able to show me how they track every child and determine the points when that child would require intervention. So the individual learning plans were developed just by analyzing the data. Again, that is something that I would want to further explore and to share with those schools that will be paired. So I'm looking forward to the continued discussion with these 7 schools as we develop the bridges of friendship, as we look at those schools that can benefit from continued conversation. Thanks for that question, Garrick.
Thank you very much indeed. Okay, so you gather we're sharing this computer here, and you're gathering, I put my coat on because it's so cold in this room. Okay, so in the warmth of Jamaica, Vivian Crawford, never mind about sending me a mango, just send me some warmth, please. Vivian, would you like to come in at this point?
Actually,
Because this is just so fascinating.
It's now the heat. Plenty H pronounced. It's now the heat. But to thank you so much, Liz, for facilitating this, and also to thank Dr. Barry for what his tutors would have said to him, the inquiring mind. You are putting so much on the table, and I want to thank you most sincerely. I have a question and a comment. I'll delay the comment until others have spoken. My question is, Dr. Barry spoke about educate our own people, because we are descendants, and on the part of the Welsh and on the part of the Jamaicans, educating our own people. Now, Lord Anthony Gifford, and I declare interest, I'm a member of the National Council on Reparation. Lord Anthony Gifford said that he was never taught at school about enslavement. He went to Winchester. And I want to know whether enslavement is on the curriculum in Wales, because unless that is on the curriculum and is not something that one watches a news item on a TV, God help us.
You want to respond to that?
I did, thanks for that. I did not have the opportunity to deliberately explore the curriculum because of how it was designed. So unlike Jamaica, Wales have a curriculum framework, I believe, with 6 themes, and the teachers within their local schools, they have the responsibility to build out the content and make it locals. And so, for example, in one school, because of the consciousness of that school leader, they included in their content matters related to the history of Wales, so the children can have an appreciation of the history. I am not sure if you go across other subject areas, if it is a fixed content, for example, in history or so. But I found the principals, they lead the charge in saying, for our students in this local community, we want them to know about our past. And they build it into the content that is shared across all grades. So they talk about all matters related to slavery, the impact on the country, and the students' response, not just to their own country, but a global response in terms of justice. And so I found that to be very interesting. I made careful note of that approach because it's something I would want to suggest to the schools that I lead and the ministry in general, to allow for the schools to delve into their own local community history, because it does something for country. It does something for them to, as a citizen, and a member of a community. And also, it does something for them in terms of school pride and country pride. And that is something that I would want to see ramped up back home. But I didn't have the opportunity to explore.
Well, thank you very much. But Liz, it seems to me then that it could be that we need to lobby to the government, the education department, to have this as a subject, because thank God for this program, the Liz Millman Institute, where Alex Renton, thank you, sir, that most Europeans believe, because they were taught that enslaved Africans were half animal and half human. And that's not surprising that the racial prejudice that exists today, it's because they do not know better, they were not taught. And as I said earlier, unless it's not a ad hoc passing event, until it is on the curriculum, God help us. I yield to someone else.
Okay, Vivian, thank you so much for that contribution. And it is absolutely essential. And that's absolutely what we're about. What I found heartening in going into Welsh schools, which I don't normally do as an everyday activity, was how much was included in terms of respect for one another. But also in every school, when I inquired, because this is something we wanted to understand, if the teaching of Black history was included in the curriculum. And in every school, I found that this was the case. But sometimes it's done, you know, in a certain term, in a certain year, not embedded throughout. And one of the issues is that teachers, particularly up here in North Wales, where we haven't got that mixed communities, and certainly not in the teaching force, there's a lack of understanding about how to actually do this. So one of the things with Building Bridges of Friendship and the Taith project is that the next thing for us to do is to produce an online training course for teachers, so that teachers can hear from you what you would like them to know. And that will make a big difference. So I'm really, really hoping that Taith is going to empower us to be able to do this. And I think it's really important. And your points are so right, Vivian. And it's not that easy to sit here and not feel emotional. We are dealing with huge issues which haven't been addressed properly. And particularly our focus on Monday was Penrhyn Castle. And we actually invited the local school, Llandergai. It's called Ysgol, is the Welsh word for school, Ysgol Llandergai. We invited Ysgol Llandergai to organise the visit for Barrington around Penrhyn Castle. And it was a good opportunity. In actual fact, not all the children had been round Penrhyn Castle before, even though their school is right at the end of the drive to the way to the castle. But then not everybody wants to go to this castle because it's got such a horrible history. Penrhyn Castle was built, you saw the size of it, those of you who were on the session earlier. You saw the illustration of it. It's a massive folly. It was never even built for anybody to live in. It was built to impress. So that when the Pennant family, after their 3 generations in Jamaica, had made a great deal of wealth, they wanted to impress when they came back. And impress they did. They even managed to get Queen Victoria to visit this monumental great place, which is lavishly furnished and is extremely well cared for. But it doesn't tell the story. There's a little broom cupboard just as you go out of the, on your way out, off a room that's no longer used. It's a cafe in the the summertime, but in a little broom cupboard, there's the illustrations that were created in a wonderful exhibition that they hosted in 2007. Well, it's 2024, and we're going to meet with the National Trust next Friday, and we're going to be talking to them about some of their ideas. And maybe we've got Jackie Pennant on the screen at the moment. Jackie, you visited Penrhyn Castle about a month ago, I think it was. You were over here in Wales, all the way from Florida, especially to help us with what we're doing. So, Garrick, would you mind if I ask Jackie to come in, and then perhaps Michelle's comments about how she felt when she went round the castle? Are you there, Jackie? Well, maybe making a cup of tea.
She's coming.
Okay.
On.
All right, let's Michelle had never visited Penrhyn Castle before. Do you want to say something briefly about your impression of the castle, Michelle?
Yes, I would, thank you. I went round the castle alone without the group, but I also went with the group this week. I was very, very shocked to see the opulence of it. I was even more than shocked to see there was, as Liz had expressed, a little broom cupboard that had like 3 different posters in to do with enslaved people. I was on a guided tour. I didn't say I was part of the group. I was just normal Joe Public. Slavery was not mentioned once at all within the tour. I had to leave. I didn't even go around the whole castle because when I came out, I was so distressed. And I must admit, I did cry because there was no acknowledgement of enslaved people, not even a passing mention. Then we did go on the tour, and Maggie, who's not here today, was very, very distressed with the broom cupboard and very upset and very emotional because there was not that acknowledgement at all. And that's how I felt anyway, and I think Maggie felt the same.
Thank you very much indeed, Michelle. For some of us who've lived and known the castle all our lives and known of its horrible history, it's something that we've become inured to, but it doesn't mean that we don't want change made. I'm just going to ask if Jackie's there still. Jackie, are you there? Jackie comes off night duty and
yeah, hi, I'm here, Liz. I was having problems muting myself. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Jackie. So welcome again to one of our sessions where we talk on Zoom across the Atlantic Ocean. Jackie, you came then to Penrhyn Castle and you had some thoughts about how things could tell an honest, how an honest story could be told.
Well, I think that you know, Penrhyn Castle and a lot of the you know, the National Trust you know, buildings, they're not like a tourist attraction, you know, it's not like it's history, but it's more like a theme park tourist attraction. Come see how they used to live, look how beautiful it is, you know, have a nice cup of tea, scone, and you know, I think the history is being left out. Now the history of the family, yes, that's on display, but the truth is not there. So I think that yeah, we have to encourage or demand that they be truth tellers and tell the whole story, because you know, I did go to Penrhyn Castle about 5 years ago, and when I went there then, I didn't know what I know now. So when I went there then, I was just looking around, and yeah, it was a, you know, interesting castle. I knew there was a connection. Now I've done my research and understanding that it was built off of the wealth, you know, from the blood, sweat, and tears of enslaved people. And there's nothing, no recognition or anything. It's more than it's like it's necessary. It's like the blood, sweat, and tears of these people is crying out to be recognized here. There was nothing left in Jamaica. This wealth was extracted from Jamaica, brought here. You know, they became part of, you know, society here, and like the people who built this have been forgotten, but we're here to make sure that they're not forgotten and the true story is told. So yeah, it's like there's different levels, and it's like if you have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, you'll see, you know, the truth. But not everybody has that. But we want to make sure that we are here to make sure the true story is told.
Thank you very much indeed, Jackie. Thank you yet again for reflecting, and it's hard to keep asking, but unless we hear your voice, and unless your voice and Barrington's voice, unless your voices as people whose ancestors we're talking about are shared with the National Trust, they're just going backwards in terms of telling the true story of the origins of the castle and the shared history. This is shared history. Jackie made a brilliant point on another occasion when you were talking with us, and you said that there is a commonality between the way that the management of the slate quarrymen in the slate quarries was compared with the management. We're not equating these, but there are similarities in management style by the Lord Penrhyn's and their workforces who led this approach to a punitive approach to the workplace. So it was difficult to work in the slate quarries. It was difficult, hard work on the plantations, and that I think is something that is a foundation to include, along with Barrington's comments about how we need to get out from under this cloud and move forward, but we can't get out from underneath it until we understand it thoroughly. Okay, well, Garrick, I'm going to ask you to come in now, and then we're going to just go through the week, and you're going to hear some wonderful Welsh place names, the names of the schools that Barrington went to, because we need to thank them so much. It's just been a brilliant week. Garrick, over to you.
Yes, just picking up on Dr. Vivian's question, and in particular about what's being taught in school, and not just in school, but the wider educational, colleges, universities, etc. Just to say that Wales is the only country in the United Kingdom where the curriculum, Black history, is included in the curriculum. And we have to give a plus for that. However, we still don't know how that is being delivered in schools across Wales, and also in the further education, colleges and universities. So one of the things that the North Wales Jamaica Society is really interested in is to start diving into that. Where is the evidence? So we're having to talk with parents and to assess what is being taught to your children. So we're asking questions. And I don't know whether there are any Black teachers in Wales. I haven't met any as yet. But again, I'm looking into this whole area of education, it is true that some things are being taught, and we also offer, when we say we, the North Wales Jamaica Society and Learning Links has offered the resources that we have to schools, because one of the issues we know is teachers are not confident in the material to teach. So what we're saying to them, well, don't worry about that. We can help you with this. So reach out to us and we will help you. So that is an invitation that is out there. Similar, we're doing the same conversation with the National Trust. As Liz mentioned, we have a meeting planned next week, and we've been trying for months for this meeting because we want to move the conversation on further. It's been stuck in limbo for many years, and we're going to move this conversation as to how we can ensure that the rest of the story, the bit that is untold, is being told. And that will give us the opportunity of better engagement. We want to take control of the learning that is coming out of that place so that we can correct the information that is being put out in the public domain. And Jackie and I, we've had conversation of ideas how we can actually make a difference to the itinerary of the castle. And last Monday, one of the tour guide, Tim, I asked him the question, and he's a volunteer for a number of years. I asked him the question about, Black tour guides. And I said, that's something we would like to look into, where Black Jamaicans can be part of that tour guide, so that when people walk into the castle, they will be greeted by the other side of the story, the Jamaican, that can then explain how the story has come about. So we need both sides, and this is the shared history. So our strategic aim is to make sure that the shared history is embedded into the National Trust.
Thank you very much indeed, Garrick, and I truly appreciate what your contribution. It's very, very valuable and very, very valid. Stonewalling has gone on for far too long, but those of you who know North Wales, we have plenty of stone walls in North Wales, but we really need to get past this one.
Yeah. Right. I had the opportunity, having toured the castle, to make a recommendation to, I believe it is the manager and some of the persons who were also facilitating the tour, because I realized that as we walked through the castle, the story was not being told, and it could just be an experience of what you see and not having an appreciation of the story that what you see is actually telling. And I made a suggestion that there could be a reflection card prepared with particular questions that will help persons as they walk through. They're able to reflect on those Q questions. And at the end of the tour, there could be a general conversation against those questions, just to ensure that the true meaning of the tour is not lost in the items that they would have seen, but the real story behind it. I hope that that recommendation will be taken, because there's a box that they provide at the end of the tour with some cards to just to indicate a comment having gone through, but it could be more reflective so that we can at least capture the thoughts and help persons to reflect more on the true meaning of what they have seen.
Thank you very much indeed. And I think that those comments directly from you are so important, so valid. I'll come to you next, Vivian. And then I'm delighted to see we've got Dr. Kurt Henry from the Jamaica Memory Bank with us on the session now. So Kurt, after Vivian's made his comments, I'll come to you next, and then we'll
I yield to Dr. Kurt, because I'm sure he has an announcement for the nation.
Dr. Kurt, have you an announcement?
About someone born in Clarendon.
Dr. Kurt Henry, are you there, or are you making a cup of tea?
I haven't had tea from morning. I would love a cup right now.
We don't have tea, Liz. We have pop.
All right, okay.
Yes, I am very much here. Unfortunately, I caught the tail end of the presentation. But I would love to hear from the director, if at all, from the experiences that he has been having so far, if he has come up with any additional programs that we could possibly implement here in Jamaica.
Yes, thanks so much, Dr. Kurt, for that question. The thought is to see how I can build out the bridge of friendship, because as it is now, it is a concept. It's a working concept. And so first and foremost, I would want to do the profiling of the schools that I visited to see if I can identify the most suitable and productive match in Clarendon, so we can have that platform to develop programs that can mutually benefit schools in Wales and schools in Jamaica. There are some key areas, though, that I have identified so far that could become major themes in this concept. One would be matters related to leadership and governance. It was interesting to see that the inspectorate concept here in Wales was built on the same concepts back home in Jamaica. And so I collected a few copies of their reports, and I know that they place critical emphasis on governance and leadership, teaching and learning. And the ratings are similar as to how they inspect those core areas or KPIs within the the school operation. And so I really wanted to see how we could mirror that concept, because as you know, we are currently in the phase of transformation in Jamaica for education. And one of the key tools that we are using to transform the education sector in Jamaica is the school improvement tool. Here in Wales, they are very big on school inspection and how they use that report to improve the quality of education. So I really want to see how we can merge the two to see if we can get that same energy, synergy, to advance the transformation that we are currently undergoing in Jamaica. The other area that I thought was very good is culture. We are big on culture in Jamaica, and we use a lot of cultural activities to enrich and to enhance teaching and learning. Culture here is not that, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I have not yet seen in the 7 schools how they use culture as a vehicle to promote teaching and learning. We do that a lot in Jamaica. again, I would want to see how we can use our approach to assist Wales, those 7 schools, to use their culture, their unique culture, to drive awareness, social development, and also to promote teaching and learning. So those are the 2 key areas I have seen so far. The other area that I'm still trying to process is professional development for teachers. I know too, in some of the schools I visited, that professional development is also key. And principals did indicate, or head teachers, that they have a section in their budget that they pay for teachers to access different modules and so on. I really want to see a little bit more the best practices within the classroom and how we can mutually benefit from the approaches. One of the things that is very common across the schools is a print-rich environment and the thematic approach that is connected from reception grades throughout to grade 13, probably grade 11. When you go across the schools, I could literally connect the themes from grades 1, 2, and 3, and then I see 4, 5, and 6, and it continues. It's a beautiful outlay as to how they visually represent what is being taught. So the students, as they progress from grade to grade, they're able to track their own appreciation of knowledge so that they could translate that in what they do. So I'm still exploring what that could look like. But definitely, in terms of leadership, I see some good practices here, and I know we have some in Jamaica, because everything rises and falls on leadership. And if we can get that right, then we can get the outcomes for school improvement. So I'm really keen on those 2 areas.
Thank you very much indeed. I think that was fantastic. And I think when it comes to Welsh culture, the Welsh language was suppressed for many centuries by the dominance of the English. This is just an issue. And in the last years, the Welsh language has been has been used as the main teaching vehicle. So it's been really wonderful to see in the schools. You talk about print rich, and it's print often in Welsh. The majority is in Welsh because these are Welsh speaking schools. We're talking about the county of Gwynedd, where Welsh in schools is the main way of delivering the curriculum. And so within that, I'm sure that there is a lot of culture almost hidden to us who aren't Welsh speakers. So I'm sure that the head teachers would agree. So over to you then, Dr. Vivian Crawford.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Liz.
Comments, and then I'm just going to wrap up.
You set me on and set me up, you know, Liz, because you used a word which really evoked my curiosity, the word suppressed. It was a bit painful for me to be seeing the picture, the painting of my own Jamaican, many miles away on a computer screen. I'd never seen that picture in Jamaica. That picture has never been loaned to the National Gallery of Jamaica. And the word that you use, suppressed. So I'm using this opportunity, and thanks to the Liz Milman Institute, through to Dr. Barry, to explore a concept for me. In Jamaica, in colonial education, art was never intended for the likes of us. If we're half animal and half human, art is not for you. And therefore, what happened after emancipation? We now have independence, but the largest collection of Jamaican art is not at the National Gallery of Jamaica. And I wouldn't, Dr. Barry, ask as a quiz, a school challenge quiz, where is the largest collection of Jamaican art? It is at a place called the Riverton Dump. It is at a dump heap, because when you do art in school, at the end of the session, the end of the day, it lies around and eventually thrown into a garbage pan where it is thrown at the dump heap. And I say that because the likes of us, the nearest we could get to art is being pretty. And in the same way that in Scotland, these shops came on scene for the barrels of herring and shad and mackerel salted to put up the pressure of our ancestors. So they sent through their agencies pretty art of the European spring, summer, autumn, and winter. And it was a print. I didn't know this until I became an adult and worked at the bank, where a curator said to me, hey, that print that you have, the frame is more expensive than the print. I collapsed. He said to me, it's if you buy one of those on Marasca Road that the boys are selling, eventually it will worth more. And I'm saying this to say, Dr. Barry, I know you do art in your schools, and the question is, what next? So I make this appeal that at the end of each year, use Denby grounds and have our art exhibition. Let the parents come in, buy their children's art and put them up in their schools, because art is not something pretty. Art is telling a story the way we read a book. And you know, Barbara Gludan, a distinguished cultural bearer in this country, she said at a meeting, and I nearly collapsed. She said in her generation, if anyone attempted to do art, the question would be asked, then you couldn't find something more worthwhile to do? And perhaps, Dr. Barry, that still exists. And I want to say in closing that it is not tokenism that Jamaican art is in London. We have at the Ronald Moody at the National Portrait Gallery. Ronald Moody, we spoke about him last week. His work is there. His brother came here, studied at King's College as a doctor. And his other brother, Ludlow Moody, was Custos of St. Andrew and donated the land where Woolmer's Prep School is. We have also, for the royal family, the work of Capo, given as a wedding gift to King Charles, his first wedding. And also, Barrington Watson's art is at Jesus College, Oxford. I remember going there and seeing that art of Norman Manley. Norman Manley's portrait. And guess what? You would never believe. There was nothing written that it was Norman Manley. And I went to the Porter's Lodge and carried on and carried on. Outside of this meeting, you will know what Jamaica carry on means. And the porter says, it was an oversight. I said, when will it be corrected? He gave me the time. I went back to look at it. It was corrected. I'm saying all of this to say there is a destiny which makes us one, and we need not be engaged in any battle. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Vivian, again. And that's, you know, it just, we have to think in different ways. We have to think outside the box, as they say. We need to come from different angles and different ones share. Kurt, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add, but then we've got a question about print-rich environment from Candice. But Kurt first. And Kurt, just to say, I'm really looking forward to your visit over here to Wales, and we'll see how you think of Penrhyn Castle. You might have heard quite a lot today in the conversation, but Kurt, are you there?
Yeah, yes, I'm here. I certainly look forward to the rich experience.
Good. Well, we've got Leslie Evans, who joined us a few weeks ago on Black History Conversations, talking about the research he's doing in the archives, going through the penance papers with a fine-tooth comb. A really, really skillful person, Leslie. Just you can read all this wonderful copperplate writing, which is really difficult to read for some of us. But she's actually now recorded the names of every name that is on any of the, what are called the slave registers. She's recorded those names, and she's also able to track through people's lives, which is really interesting. And she's finding out a lot of other things as well, which I'm sure she'll be pleased to share with you, Kurt. And just personally, apologies that I haven't got back to you. It's been a busy week, but we're just checking out and see if we can find the best possible airfare for you coming over later in November. Okay, so thank you, Kurt. Can we just ask about the print-rich environment,
Right.
please?
So when we say print-rich environment, we talk about a pictorial representation of what is being taught, and it is used as a means of reinforcement of learning. So if they're talking, if the teacher would have taught matters related to fractions, the walls are decorated with key concepts. So as the children go through the halls, sit in the classrooms, they can look back on what they learned, and their learning is being reinforced. So I'm seeing that right throughout all the schools, that the walls are decorated with current topics that they are teaching, so the children can be reinforced in their learning and their understanding.
Okay, well, thank you. I hope that's explained that. I think one of the visual differences between a school in, and I would go as far as to say Britain, whether you're in England, Scotland, Wales or Ireland, that the classrooms are often over cluttered with things on the walls. But here in Wales, because there is this focus on reinforcing the Welsh language all the time, and the values of the schools are also reinforced over and over again, both in illustrations painted on the walls, or whether it's in posters, or whatever way they've got to reinforce that. It's really noticeable here, and it's a difference. But I mean, there are climatic reasons why pieces of paper on the wall don't look so good after a few weeks in Jamaica. So it's a case of what could be suitable.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, right, now in a moment I'm going to just go through all the school. Oh dear, sorry. I'm just going to run through all the schools. That was a message that I just got in then from Walter Lavelle, who's meeting up with others in Jamaica. So I better wrap this up and we can go into that call. Right, okay, well, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Barrington. It's been a brilliant week. On Monday, we went to Ysgol Llandergai, and then we went on to Penrhyn Castle. After that, we met with Gwern, who is the Chief Education Officer, and he gave us of his time and was able to introduce all sorts of themes and topics, which really grounded the whole week's visit. And then we have in the evening, we had members of Learning Links International. We all got together for a meal with Barrington. That was fabulous. On Tuesday, we went to Ysgol Kai Top, which is a grade 1 primary school in Bangor. Exceptional leadership there, exceptional leadership in all the schools we went to. And that was a marvellous opportunity. And the most print-rich environment that I've ever come across in any school. It was wonderful. Then in the later afternoon, we went off to, you went to Bangor Archives to have a look at all these papers that we've got here. We've got to find ways that these can be shared more equitably for study in Jamaica. Then we went off to the Ogwen Valley and I'm sorry, I'm going to have to switch my phone off. Right. Oh, taking a picture of it instead, right. Okay, so we went in the Ogwen Valley to look at the slate story. Slate is a big story here because of the production of the slates for roofs around the empire and slates for the classrooms. Vivian Crawford remembers only too well the slate that he used to write on, but then he had to rub it off and start again. So no way of keeping notes. Wednesday we went to Ysgol Dyffryn Ogwen, and that was a fascinating visit. That's a secondary school. And after that we had a reception at Penryn Hall in Bangor. That's the main city hall in Bangor. And we were joined by the Lord Lieutenant and the High Sheriff, and also our Taith delegates. So that was a really interesting session that we had then. And we were also joined by Jackie Pennant on Zoom. Thank you, Jackie, for that. On Thursday, we came here to Ysgol Llanllechid, and we had the most wonderful experience of a sort of mini Eisteddfod. The children sang, they recited poetry. This is the whole school in the hall. They sang, it was just absolutely wonderful, really spirited. And that went on for about 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
Yes.
And then Barrington took over, and Barrington had them dancing and singing with some wonderful Jamaican music and a Jamaican presentation. And the word about that is going around the different schools.
Yes.
And I think this morning's school were a bit disappointed they didn't get a chance to sing as well. But anyway, from that, yesterday we drove quite a distance. It took us about an hour to drive to Denby, and we went to Denby High School. And this is because of the Denby plantation link and the Denby High School. That was fabulous. Then we had a spirited discussion during the Penance Project Committee meeting on Zoom, deciding what we're going to do when the delegation, the Taith delegation, go over to Jamaica, and who we're going to invite to different events and all sorts. So it's a very useful session. And I thank you very much indeed for supporting that. Then we went to Ysgol Llanllechid, which is a school in quite I'd say a disadvantaged area of Bangor. And we were able to listen to the children perform in their assembly, very much more muted, quieter presentation. I think it was about the outcomes of the discussions in the school council, but it's all in Welsh. So for non-Welsh speakers like Barrington and I, it was quite difficult to follow through, but they were also talking about the football, weren't they?
Yes.
The Welsh word for football is pêl-droed, and I know that one. So that was fascinating. And then I had an opportunity to talk to the children, introducing Barrington, and then Barrington, you went round all the classes and they asked you questions, and that was fabulous.
The governor.
Oh yes, and we had the opportunity there to talk to the Chair of Governors, Derek Hange, so that was really valuable. Then after lunch, we came back here to Llanllechid, Ysgol Llanllechid, where the wonderful head teacher, Gwennon here, has been an active person to share the story about the links with Jamaica. So that was absolutely fabulous. Now I think Kurt's had to go now to another meeting, so he says see us all soon, and he certainly will. So tomorrow we're going to give Barrington an opportunity to do some shopping, taking him to the shop so he can buy you Welsh flags to take back, or
right,
we'll buy you Welsh flags to take back, or whatever we want to do. So that's in the morning, and then in the afternoon I'm really delighted that Barrington's going to be with us, because there's a Black History Month celebration going on in Bangor at Pontio, and we want to make sure that we're there to support that activity. So yes, just an amazing week, and I can't thank Barrington enough, and I can't thank you all enough for being here today. And for those of you who've taken part in the week's activities, we've had Michelle came all the way from Aberystwyth twice this week to take part in things, and Garrick, as ever. So many thanks, Garrick, to you for coming down to Bangor and to participate, and thanks for all you've done this week. So thanks very much indeed, everybody. I don't think we'll extend this session any longer because I need to get back onto Walter and the planning for our visits. So Candace, thank you for that's a nice comment you put, and it's certainly been an information-packed session, so good. Thank you very much, everybody. This will be online so others can listen to the recording and hear about what's been a fantastic week.
That's been.
Yeah. All right then, all the very
Take care.
best.
Bye-bye now.
All
Bye-bye.
right then.
Bye.
So, Garrick, are you in charge of switching off, or am I?
You can do it. Yeah.
Oh well, I think you're over optimistic there.
Recording stop. Recording to the stop.
Record on the cloud.
Yeah.
Lovely. And I'm just going to finish the recording now.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to switch that off there. Stop recording. Right, off we go then.
Brilliant.
Right.